First things first, guys. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Long drive from Munich and lots going on today, but that's not really any different than usual.
It's our fourth show in a row, so we're getting a little tired. We got a day off tomorrow here in Amsterdam, so that's energizing.
Yeah, sure.
Is it difficult to muster up the energy then if you play a lot of shows one after each other?
It's easier if there's a great crowd waiting to hear you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it rubs off on us, you know. We've had tours in the past where it was difficult because we were like the first band of 5 and no one gave a shit about us.
Right.
And so to like drive all day and then rush onto the stage and not get a sound check and start playing to an unenthused crowd, you might be struggling to get it together. But I think we're luckily gotten a little bit past that at this point now, and most of the shows we play are great, and the fans are always enthusiastic, especially in Europe, so it makes it a lot easier.
And is it fair to say, do you consider yourself as a live band as opposed to a studio band?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's important to do both, like to be good at both, but I think, Steve's right, we've always been kind of leaned on the side of the of the live aspect, or had a stronger live show than we have with our albums. It's something that I think we've always been conscious of and trying to address with each subsequent release, making sure that we're trying to get closer and closer to capturing that essence on the album, which I think we did a better job with on this one, but it's something that we're going to keep in mind for the future and probably try and strive for on the next one.
And if we go back in time a little bit, before Monster Truck, you all played in other bands. Did these bands have an emphasis on live playing as well?
I don't know, that's a tough question. From the band that we were in, I think that changed over the years a bit. I don't know, you could probably speak more on that.
Well, I just think, let's look at it from a personal perspective. Like, you've always put a huge emphasis on playing really well live. You've always been consistent, and I think I've always done the same thing, where I'm like really striving to either match what we pulled off in the studio live, or just be an excellent live player so that when you go to the studio, you can get it done and get it down quickly. So I think maybe that's the reason that me and Steve have both kind of ended up in the position that we're in now, playing in a different band together, is because that's always been extremely important to both of us. And it's just like, it's exciting and fun to be in a band where everyone is of that same mindset of like making sure that the live performance is absolutely as strong as possible every single night.
Was that the focal point then when you started to form the band? No,
the focal point when we started the band was to get drunk and have fun.
Yeah, literally.
And like, obviously that like the nature of us wanting to play excellent live came through naturally without thinking about it. So, we're trying to, have beers and have fun and write these songs that are like really fun to play. But then naturally we're trying to play them really well too.
Sure.
And so you're combining all those things together, and then it kind of launched the band because it was this perfect mixture of like what I think a lot of music fans want to see. They want to see a band that's fun. They want to see the people in the band having fun, and they want them to play, good songs and play them well. And so without really intentionally going for all those things at the same time, we kind of just had them happen. And then it was kind of a reflection back on like, wow, well, this is really working. And then understanding that it was because we enjoy our own music. We're having fun doing it.
There was no pressure.
There was no pressure, and then except for the constant pressure we put on ourselves to play well.
Sure.
So you combine all these things, and it just ended up being kind of the perfect storm, and allowed us to kind of quickly, decide that, this band that we were going to have to do just for fun and, once a month at home, we now have the opportunity to take it somewhere else. And that was when we decided to kind of go for it.
Because was it a tough decision? Because you say that there was no real intent when you started out.
Was there what, sorry?
Was it a tough decision to then, from just fooling around, so to say, to going into that tour mode and recording an album?
It wasn't a tough decision. It was just like anything else. It's a challenge, because now you've got to drive all day, and you've got to work so hard to be able to go take, just to play one show a month for beer money is the easy proposition. Almost anybody can pull that off. But like to all of a sudden now make, to play 30 shows in 31 days, which was one of our first tours, it's not a tough decision to do that, but once you're in the thick of it, it's kind of a tough challenge to execute.
It was like a bit of a tough decision in terms of like, we had to end up telling our friends in that band that we're not going to play in their band anymore because we're just doing this, you know, like it was tough, and like the decision was made, but it was tough, you know, like
again, it was like you make the decision, but then actually executing on that decision is the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a tough part of it, but yeah.
And then, well, you've released the first album in 2013. So after that, then suddenly there are expectations of what you are, what kind of sound you have. So did that play a role when you started kind of getting ready for Sittin Heavy?
Yeah. We thought about it. I thought about it a lot, you know. I thought, you know, we really had a lot of success with Curiosity. I didn't want to deviate too much from that, but we also didn't want to make the same record twice. So it was just finding a way to walk that line of achieving both of those goals, of, you know, really making an album that you could tell, you know, came from the album before it, but also just like adding some new elements in to make sure that it had some, you know, it was a couple surprises, a couple things that, you know, people didn't know us for yet, and then just balancing that, just like finding a way to balance that, and you know, make sure everyone in the band felt like, you know, that it was something they could be proud of at the end.
And was there a clear starting point to the record, a time maybe, or maybe a song that you started working on where everything kind of took off?
Shells.
Yeah, or Don't Tell Me How to Live.
Don't Tell Me How to Live is probably a better marker point, because at the end of the day, the first song that we were writing for the new album ended up kind of being a B-side for the album, and then the next song we wrote ended up being the first single. So, I mean, what he's referring to there is the song Don't Tell Me How to Live.
And the way it kind of came together with Craig whipping our asses into shape a little bit.
Yeah, we took that first song on tour, and we were playing it during sound checks to kind of work on it, and we had the guitar tech from Alice in Chains come out and be like, man, like, you guys working on a new song, eh? It's like, it's pretty awesome, but the chorus sucks. Isn't that what he said?
Something like that. He's like, you gotta do something about that.
Yeah, you gotta do something about that chorus, man. Yeah. And we were like, holy shit, like okay, like, you know, he's like, it's gotta be big, like, you gotta make it be like wham, like, it's gotta be like whoa. Yeah. And we were like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. And kudos to Marv and you. Marv sat down and wrote a whole new chorus, and then he showed it to you, and you had tons of good ideas for it, and then we kind of just rewrote the song around that, and then it became probably so far the biggest song off the album up to this point.
Yeah.
But the way you talk about the constructing a song, is it a very collective effort in that sense?
Everyone's got a really cool role.
Okay.
You know,
to get to the final point, yeah, it's not like everyone writes tunes, you know. Sure. It's like it always will start from a riff or a song structure idea that Jer or Marv will fuck around with a guitar on, you know, and then just kind of, we're big fans of recording ourselves jam songs, like just with a cell phone, even just a shitty cell phone recording, and
it's amazing the things it's amazing the things you'll notice when you listen back to it that you don't notice when you're playing it. And so we always try, and even when we're just demoing, we'll just take a one mic demo of like what we're playing, and I think that's where Steve has a lot of his really great insights about the music, where he'll, you know, I don't think there's a ton of drummers out there that have a lot to say about, you know, vocal ideas or even guitar parts, and you know, he'll come in and be like, hey Jared, what if you, instead of going this way with that part, you know, you do it like this to make it a little bit more, like Don't Tell Me How to Live, he had this idea to alternate the melody line on the guitar and the bass for back and forth, instead of just having to be the same every time. And it was just a little tiny thing, but it's all those little things that add up to taking the song to the next level. So,
and sometimes you don't notice those things when you're in the midst of playing.
Exactly. Like, and I don't notice it because at that point, I'm sitting there so worried about playing that part and singing at the same time. And I'm always thinking about the lead that I'm going to put on it, and he's looking at the foundation, you know? And so then it's such a full spectrum of people analyzing every angle of the song. And I think that's what's given us a lot of success is, you know, we've got everybody looking at different little parts. You know, I'll look at drum parts, or he looks at a lot of vocal harmony structure stuff that you know, maybe is, you know, John's so worried about the vocal line, and I'm so worried about my guitar solos, that, you know, to have someone else looking out for the second and third and sometimes fourth harmonies, and then, you know, that's the kind of thing that's going to take the song to the next level, and so everyone's got a really heavy input on, you know, making it from a 80% song to a 95, or, you know, I'm not going to say 100 because we're not the Beatles, but
Well, there's one interesting thing as well. You mentioned, well, that guitar tech, or that Alice in Chains guitar tech that gave you a suggestion. So when you tour with all these kind of people, because you toured with ZZ Top, Slash, many more, do you take away stuff from those tours?
of course,
Always, yeah.
but it's not like, you know, it's not like Jerry comes up to us and says, you know, I think you guys should try some dual vocal harmonies for your whole song.
Sure.
He doesn't have to. All he has to do is go on stage and kick ass every night with Phil? Will. Fuck, God damn it. I'm still hungover. So Will and Jerry kill so hard on the vocals that they don't have to say a damn thing. They just have to go do their thing every night, and then we watch it every night, and we see the impact that it has on the crowd and how well it goes over. And, you know, this first thing, you know, Steve was, you know, we got to do something like that. And, you know, and then we do it, and then we see how much of an impact it has. It's one of our best songs of the new material at the shows, you know, and we know that has a huge part to do with it. So, yeah, I mean, you're just following by example, or leading by example, really.
And there's so many levels of things you learn too. Like, you know, I learn what positioning for my mic stand works best. Like, oh, I didn't think of that. You know, because these guys have been doing it for years, and they got almost everything down to like as efficient and, you know, pro as it can be. You know, so I've learned a lot on that side as well, like just out of songwriting and things like that, you know, on the technical side or on the logistical side, you know, like we learn a lot in that way as well, talking to their techs, talking to the road crew.
That's where we get some of the best advice, is because the crews of all these bands always kind of embrace us, because they see that we're like, have no guitar techs and no drum techs and no help, and we're all like, I'm sitting there fucking with the guitar like, ah, and they all just come over, and they, you know, they like the band, and they kind of like the DIY mentality, and they've always got just great suggestions and support and advice, and it's just, honestly, it's one of the things that is really not only kind of helped us sustain us on the road, but it's also given us the assistance to get additional tours, because they're the ones who work for everybody. There's certain guys that, you know, they tour with 4 or 5 headlining acts, and they pass along the kind of, you know, hey, you got to check this band out, Monster Truck. And I know we've had so many opportunities because of, you know, the unsung heroes that are the crews of all the bands that touring the world right now.